Good day, everyone. Amazing to be back with you. My name is Adam Livingston, and I am the Bitcoin Wizard, your number one source for Bitcoin and Bitcoin Treasury Company analysis. This is episode 2 of Escape the Matrix: Austrian Economics in a Broken World, my series breaking down the most important philosophical concepts that you must internalize to make it in today's fiat hellscape world. Today, we'll be discussing time preference. Everyone carries a private clock in their head. Some run on microwave time, some run on cathedral time. Time preference is how strongly you rank a payoff now over a payoff later. Present goods usually sit higher because the future is uncertain and you are mortal. That tilt shows up in every choice you make. As discussed in last week's episode, praxeology cares because action unfolds through time. You pick an end, you choose means, you accept waiting. Waiting has a cost. You feel it when you choose to write for an hour instead of doom scrolling for a hit of dopamine. Interest translates this into a price. It is what people demand to part with control today and what others pay to pull benefits forward. No committees invented it. It emerges from how we rank now versus later. Here is the philosophical punch. A society's horizon is the sum of these private clocks. Short horizons burn resources for quick comfort. Long horizons build tools and habits that compound. That is not a sermon. It's a description of how choices stack. For this episode, keep one lens. Whenever you see a number in the wild, ask what the hidden clock is saying underneath it. Mortgage rates, startup funding, your own calendar, the tempo is always there. Quick check and think about your last 3 hours. Did you invest in something that compounds or rents your attention for pennies? No judgment, just evidence of where your clock sits today. All right, time preference defined, interest introduced. The rest of the episode unpacks how that logic moves markets. Let's tune the clocks. Time preference is your brain's default setting for now versus later. Present goods usually sit higher in your ranking than future goods because the future steals, spoils, or disappears. You know this every time you choose fries over fasting. High time preference says, give me dopamine now. Future me can figure out the credit card bill. That is DoorDash at 2 a.m., payday loans, and scratch-offs in a gas station that smell like despair. Low time preference says, I will wait. I want compounding more than crumbs. That is learning a skill, lifting weights, and stacking sats while your friends buy inflatable hot tubs on Klarna. Praxeology translation: every choice unfolds through time. You pick an end, you pick means, you accept a delay. The longer the delay, the more your inner toddler screams. Adults build throttles for that toddler. Toddlers run governments. Philosophy check: David Hume gave you an is and an ought. Time preference gives you now versus later. You never escape the trade, you only pick which side you privilege. Microtest: 1 marshmallow now or 2 in 15 minutes. 1 cheap thrill now or a durable capability in a month. 1 latte now or more sovereignty in a decade. Your answer is your interest rate in human form. The universe compounds for patient people. Bureaucracies compound for impatient ones. Guess which group writes the rules? Quick audience audits. Think about the last 3 things you did today. 1 was for immediate comfort. 1 was a long-term investment. 1 was doom scrolling in a chair that is slowly becoming a fossil of your spine. That is your time preference speaking. Lock this in. Time preference is not a moral lecture. It is a map of how you rank moments when uncertainty taxes the future. Learn to hear that ranking in your own behavior, and you will start to hear it inside prices, careers, and civilization. Civilization begins the moment someone says, I will wait. 1 farmer saves seed. 1 mason lays a stone he will never live to see at the top. 1 parent reads a book at midnight instead of scrolling a dopamine slot machine. That tiny rebellion against the present becomes bridges, libraries, supply chains, and the weird miracle where strawberries show up in January. Time preference sits at the center of that miracle. High time preference turns a society into a raccoon at a dumpster, clever, dexterous, and constantly sticky. Low time preference turns a society into a gardener, patient, boring, and terrifyingly effective. Raccoons find snacks, gardeners feed cities. This is not vibes, it is praxeology with a pulse. Every production plan has stages. The longer the plan, the more patience you need. If a culture cannot delay gratification, capital goods stay fantasies. No steel mills, no shipyards, no research labs. You get pop-up shops, selling mango-flavored vapes next to payday loan kiosks. The GDP looks busy, but the future files for bankruptcy. Interest sits in the middle like a referee with a whistle. Save more, the interest rate sinks, long projects become thinkable, engineers get hired, supply chains lengthen, children grow into skilled adults instead of content. Save less, the interest rate rises, the economy shifts to quick hits in short cycles. That rate is not a mood ring for bankers, it is a price that tells you how far a people can see. If you want a horror story, watch what happens when a committee counterfeits the price of time. Push rates down with policy, pretend savings exist, summon a carnival of false signals, builders pour concrete for malls no one will visit, startups burn cash on features no one ranked above groceries, consumers binge on cheap credit because tomorrow looks subsidized. Then the scaffolding snaps, the apology tour is called a recession. The villains give TED Talks about resilience. High time preference culture eats seed corn and writes essays about hustle. It treats skill like outfits and marriages like subscriptions. It is Costco-sized serotonin with an APR. Low time preference culture is slow and a little smug. It builds aqueducts and reads old books. It invests in tools that only pay off after the next election cycle, which is why no one in office likes it. Look at your own calendar. That is the archaeology of your civilization. Reps in the gym, pages in a manuscript, hours teaching your kid to think, all of it deposits capital in a vault that pays off later. Fast food and fast takes and fast loans withdraw from that vault. You can fool your friends with a ring light and a thread. You cannot fool compounding. A society can posture about the future while kneecapping it, inflate the currency, call it stimulus, tax capital formation, call it fairness, bailout failure, call it stability, then act shocked when people shorten their horizon and go full raccoon. The incentives works, the culture obeyed. You want civilizational upgrades? Stop worshipping immediacy. Start protecting the conditions that make waiting sane. Honest money that holds value, law that does not change with a press release, prices that are allowed to say inconvenient things, property that cannot be dissolved by a bureaucrat's signature. Give people a future they can trust and they will build one you can live in. One last image. Picture two cities at night. In the first, neon debt signs glow. Food arrives by app, and the only crane in the skyline is a broken billboard. In the second, a cathedral rises in scaffolding, and beneath it, a workshop hums where apprentices learn to make tools older than their grandparents. Same species, different clocks. Civilization is the compound interest of low time preference. Choose your clock. Choose your world. Interest is the exchange rate between today and tomorrow. That is it. No incense, no mysticism. It's the market's way of saying, here is how much people prefer present goods to future goods. In Austrian terms, there is a pure core called originary interest. It flows from time preference itself. On top of that core, markets add premiums for risk, inflation, and liquidity. Think of a stack. Number one, the human tilt toward now. Number two, a surcharge for the chance that you ghost me. Number three, a penalty because money can rot under bad policy. And number four, a fee for locking cash away. Mechanics are simple. When people save more, present goods are less scarce relative to future goods. The rate falls, long projects become viable, roundabout production expands. When people binge on now, savings shrink, the rate rises, only short projects clear the bar, supply chains shorten, the horizon pulls in. Picture a fisherman with a dilemma. Spend the day grabbing fish by hand, eat tonight, sleep badly. Or starve today, build a net, eat better for years. If the community saves enough food to feed him while he weaves, the natural rate is low. The net gets built, the capital stock rises. If everyone is already hungry, the rate is high, the net remains a Pinterest board. Interest coordinates billions of those dilemmas. It tells entrepreneurs whether to pour concrete for 5-year payoffs or flip inventory every weekend. A 1-point move in the rate looks small on a chart, but it redraws the map of which ideas live or die. Note the philosophy hiding inside. Interest emerges from voluntary rankings under uncertainty. No committee invented it. You can regulate the number printed in the newspaper. You cannot repeal the scarcity of present goods or the risk of the future. When the posted rate diverges from the underlying time preferences, you do not not get prosperity, you get hallucination. The books balance later with layoffs and foreclosures. People call interest the rate of borrowing, which is true, then they forget it is also the reward for waiting. A civilization that treats waiting as a vice will always run out of things worth borrowing for. Quick audit of the components in a real loan quote. Number 1, originary interest, the baseline tilt toward now. Number 2, risk premium, your odds of vanishing like smoke. Number 3, inflation premium, the central bank's habit of eating dollars while calling it guidance. Number 4, liquidity premium, the pain of funds trapped in a vault while opportunities walk by. When a policymaker brags that they lowered rates, ask which layer they touched. If they only jawboned the headline number while savings did not rise and risks did not fall, then the signal is counterfeit. Entrepreneurs will start to hear a party playlist, they will start long dances, and the music will cut at midnight. Here is a clean mental image. Interest is the thermostat for intertemporal coordination. Savings turns the dial down. Investment plans lengthen, output expands later. Binge consumption turns the dial up, plans compress, tomorrow arrives emptier. Smash the thermostat and you do not get permanent spring, you get a broken house. Lock the sentence into memory. Interest is the price of time that emerges from how humans rank now versus later. Treat it with respect and people build cathedrals. Treat it like a toy and you get malls with tumbleweeds. Imagine a committee decides to help the economy by putting the clock on 0.75x speed. They paste a lower number on interest rates, smile for the cameras, and call it stimulus. That is like setting your oven to 450 on the display while the coil still glows at 250. The cookies look done on TV, inside raw dough. Here's the gag, the posted rate says savings are plentiful, go build long stuff. Real savings say we are on vacation, please leave a message. Entrepreneurs hear a beach playlist and start ordering cranes. The sequence: number 1, planners press rates down. Number 2, builders read the signal, pour concrete for 5-year payoffs. Number 3, consumers swipe credit as if tomorrow is sponsored by a brand. Number 4, supply chains stretch like taffy. Number 5, reality calls in, asks who approved any of this. Number 6, the floor disappears. CNN discovers the word contagion. Fake time breeds malinvestment. That word sounds clinical, it is slapstick. Think malls with Tesla charging but no shoppers, condo towers with yoga rooms and no tenants, software platforms solving problems that only exist in pitch decks. Everyone is dressed for the summer because the thermostat said June. Outside, it's winter. Here's a field guide to spotting fake time in the wild. Price charts that float like helium balloons while cash flows crawl. Startups that sell engagement on a product nobody uses unless you bribe them with free credit. A city with more co-working spaces than actual work. Restaurants where appetizers arrive on slate tiles and the rent check arrives in tears. My favorite metaphor: when you hang a free drink sign, the bar fills, then you reveal the twist. The taps were connected to water the whole time. That is an artificially low rate. It calls a party into existence, then hands out club soda. What follows is the purge. Projects started under fantasy rates cannot survive real rates. The nice phrase is recession. The accurate phrase is inventory of wishful thinking now priced at reality. Capital gets reallocated, which is econ speak for movers carrying furniture out of offices while a guy with a succulent says he is pivoting to AI. The same people who fake the clock hold hearings to ask why no one respected time. They accuse market failure while standing next to the broken thermostat. They propose more knob turning. Guests clap, the house groans. Pro tip for survival: when the posted rate looks cheap, verify with savings. Ask basic questions. Are people actually deferring compensation, or are they maxing out credit so they can post beach photos next to a rented Lamborghini? If the answer is the second one, leave before the after party. Diagnostic check you can do at home in your community. Can you name 3 long projects in your city that completed on budget and make cash without subsidies? Are you seeing more repair shops or more novelty concepts with neon signs about vibes? Did your friend raise a seed round for a product that solves hunger for software engineers who forgot lunch? This is the Austrian business cycle in shoes that squeak. Distort the price of time, summon a boom that feels like genius, then meet the bust that feels like betrayal. The cure is not more lying, the cure is to let the clock tell the truth, let losses do their job, and let savers rebuild a base for patience. The joke writes itself: you cannot create tomorrow by renaming today. You can only invite investors to a party that ends when the bartender asks who is paying for the glassware. Time preference does not stay in balance sheets, it leaks into diets, marriages, city planning, and the look on the cashier's face at 11 p.m. High time preference culture speaks in slogans. Treat yourself. You deserve it. Why save when there's Klarna? The results look busy, then empty. Fast food replaces family meals. TikTok replaces attention. Debt replaces savings. The calendar fills with events. The future arrives with nothing finished. Low time preference culture whispers in habits. Cook at home, read long books, repair before you replace. Train a skill that does not go out of style. Stack small advantages, watch them compound. It feels boring in the moment, then terrifyingly effective after a decade. Here is the field guide. Food, high time preference, fries now, gut later, gym membership never used. Low time preference, batch cook on Sunday, lift on Monday, no motivational quotes required. Learning, high, courses purchased, modules unopened, certificate screenshot posted. Low, 1 chapter per night, 1 page of notes, 1 experiment, repeat for years. Money, high time preference, 0 down payment, 12 payments, interest as a lifestyle. Low time preference, emergency fund, capital goods, cash flow that does not care about hashtags. Status, high time preference, branded luxuries that scratch an itch for a week. Low, reputation for delivering on promises. Clients who call back. A network that vouches without being asked. Politics, high time preference, stimulus today, hearings tomorrow, austerity never. Low time preference, painful choices go up, steady rules, prosperity that sneaks up on you because headline writers fell asleep. You can spot rising time preference in architecture. Short leases, pop-up shops, buildings that age like milk cartons, neon signs about vibes, no maintenance budget. Then a loan reset, then plywood. Low time preference builds with stone and warranties, the boring kind that survived 3 mayors and 2 fads. The dark humor lands hardest in education. High time preference schools inflate grades and teach trends, then watch employers retrain graduates for basic work. Low time preference programs drill fundamentals that outlive software versions and presidential cycles. Watch social media behavior. High time preference posts provoke for clicks, then panic when engagement cools. Low time preference accounts produce a library, then win quietly because libraries outrun trends. The same story shows up in families. High time preference parents outsource time with kids to screens, then wonder why attention and respect decay. Low time preference parents read at bedtime and keep promises, then watch trust compound in the background. Collapse does not begin with a chart, it begins with millions of tiny now choices that outrank later every day for years. Infrastructure dies, skills atrophy, heroes become influencers, the calendar becomes the enemy. Then a shock hits and the society has no slack, no savings, and no shared patience. You want cultural repair? Start with time, reward waiting. Protect property so planning is sane. Let prices tell the truth so capital can choose longer ladders. Teach children that dopamine is a cheap landlord and compounding is a kind king. Audit yourself this week. 1 meal you cook, 1 hour you read, 1 rep you can add to a skill. $1 you keep, 1 promise you keep, not a rebrand of your life, a vote for a future self you will not be embarrassed to meet. The punchline is simple, folks. The world you live in is a sum of private clocks. If enough of them slow down, cathedrals appear. Choose your tempo. Here is the claim in plain English. Hard money stretches your horizon. Soft money shrinks it. Bitcoin behaves like a patience trainer with a cattle prod. Start with rules. Bitcoin has a fixed supply, a public schedule, and no committee. Your savings are not a suggestion, they are a private property right with teeth. When the unit resists dilution, savings stops feeling like a prank. People plan, they skip cheap thrills because the future finally looks credible. Next, incentives. In a fiat system, your dollars quietly leak value. So spending now wins by default. In a hard money system, every impulse purchase fights a growing stack that might buy more later. the opportunity cost of junk increases. You do fewer "I deserve it" swipes and more "I will wait" choices. That is time preference moving down a notch. Volatility is the dojo. Bitcoin slaps you for paper hands and rewards deliberate accumulation. You learn position sizing, cash buffers, and sleep at night custody. The tourists rage quit, the savers get calmer. That upgrade leaks into everything else: workouts, deep work, relationships, because repetition teaches your brain that delayed payoff is real. Property rights matter. Self-custody reduces counterparty risk. So stop optimizing for approval and start optimizing for solvency. When you hold the keys, your calendar changes. Fewer status games, more skill building. Fewer subscriptions that auto-debit hope, more stacks that compound conviction. Signals improve. Fiat price signals howl with noise from credit binges and policy pivots. Builders cannot see 5 years ahead. With Bitcoin in the mix, more actors can anchor plans to a unit that behaves. The signal improves, the map stabilizes, longer projects clear the bar. Culture follows. Hard money has a personality: quiet, stubborn, allergic to shortcuts. It rewards the parent who reads at bedtime, the craftsman who learns the boring step, the entrepreneur who ships something real and cash flows it. Fiat rewards a viral deck and a vibes-forward launch party. Guess which culture leaves cathedrals? Quick contrasts for the highlight reel. Fiat: coupons, credit, stimulus, hangover. Bitcoin: save, build, earn, repeat. Fiat: consumption first, repair later, blame markets. Bitcoin: maintenance first, compounding later, blame your own choices. This is not hero worship, it is praxeology under different rules. Change the money, change the ranking of now versus later. The unit that lies to you about tomorrow pushes you into raccoon mode. The unit that keeps its promise makes patience feel sane. Audit yourself. When your savings live in a melting asset, you invent reasons to spend. When your savings live in something scarce and portable, you invent projects worth funding. That pivot is time preference moving from microwave to oven. So yes, Bitcoin memes are loud. The real story is quiet. People start showing up early, reading footnotes, learning custody, fixing broken appliances instead of replacing them, teaching children about trade-offs, individually small, culturally seismic. That is what hard money does to a clock. Here's a short list to tape to your fridge. Number 1, every choice carries a timestamp. You pick now or later, the receipt prints either way. Prices just translate your private clock into public numbers. Number 2, interest speaks for time. Respect the signal and projects line up with reality. Mute the signal and you get optimism in Q2, foreclosures in Q4. Number 3, savings buys longer ladders. More savings lowers the hurdle for long plans. Less savings shortens the horizon until all you can reach is a vending machine. Number 4, culture is compound interest in disguise. Meals cooked, skills practiced, promises kept, books finished. Boring today, breathtaking in a decade. Number 5, soft money shortens memory. If the unit melts, people sprint. If the unit holds, people plant. Number 6, pain teaches. Loss culls bad plans. Bailouts preserve them. One path hurts quickly and then heals. The other path smiles now and limps forever. Number 7, Bitcoin stretches the horizon. Fixed rules, credible scarcity, fewer excuses. The future stops feeling like a prank. Patience becomes a sane bet. Here is your pocket test for the week. Look at something you fear. Ask, what do I gain later if I face it now? Look at your calendar. Count hours spent compounding versus hours spent coping. If you want a civilizational upgrade, start where you stand. One is a glossy coupon book that expires next Tuesday. The other is a plain ledger that will outlive you. Your time preference picks which one you will open. Drop in the comments one tiny now that you will trade for a bigger later this week. No grand rebrands. One trade, then do it again tomorrow. That is the whole trick. My name is Adam Livingston, and I am the Bitcoin Wizard. If you found this content useful, please like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share this video with friends and family so they too can escape the matrix. I will see you next time. Class dismissed.